2 races, that's all it took for Red Bull to consider replacing their newest driver. In the cutthroat world of Formula 1, this might be the fastest potential firing we've ever seen. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the absolute chaos happening at Red Bull Racing right now. If you thought your job was stressful, imagine being told you might get fired after just 2 days at work. That's essentially what's happening to Liam Lawson right now. But here's what I really want you to think about as we go through this video. What would you do if you were Christian Horner? By the end of this video, I'll reveal what I believe is Red Bull's best move, and it might surprise you completely. If you're new here and love no BS Formula 1 analysis, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down the politics and drama behind the racing every single week. Let's start with the cold, hard facts. Liam Lawson's Red Bull career has been nothing short of a nightmare so far. The New Zealand driver has qualified 18th, 20th, and 20th in his 3 appearances. That means he's been dead last on the grid twice in a row. Think about that for a second. When was the last time you saw a Red Bull car starting from the very back of the grid? The answer is never, at least not without penalties or technical issues. His race results? A DNF, 14th, and 12th place. And that 12th in China only happened because 3 other drivers got disqualified after the race. Otherwise, he'd be looking at another 15th place finish. Christian Horner isn't exactly giving Lawson a vote of confidence either. After China, he said, "We have data from the first 2 races and we'll look carefully at that. We have 400 engineers in the team and 600 sensors on the car, so we have a huge amount of information to go through." When directly asked if Lawson's seat for the next race in Japan was guaranteed, Horner completely dodged the question. That's F1 code for "we're actively considering making a change." If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're just getting to the juicy part. So if Lawson gets the boot, who's next in line? All signs point to Yuki Tsunoda, and the timing couldn't be more interesting with his home race in Japan coming up. Tsunoda has been absolutely killing it this season. Even Helmut Marko, yes, the same Marko known for being brutally critical of Red Bull drivers, had this to say: Yuki is in the shape of his life. He's a different Yuki now than in recent years. Remember the old Yuki? The one who would curse on team radio and let his emotions get the better of him? That guy is gone. This new version is calm, consistent, and frankly, deserving of a shot in the main team. Horner revealed that Tsunoda did very well in testing with Red Bull in Abu Dhabi. They've been watching him closely. But here's where it gets really interesting and where the plot thickens. What if it's not actually about the drivers at all? What if Red Bull's second seat is basically a trap? Let's look at the evidence. Since Daniel Ricciardo left in 2018, every single driver in that second Red Bull seat has struggled. Gasly, Albon, Perez, and now Lawson. All good drivers who suddenly looked mediocre next to Verstappen. The reason? The RB21 is basically custom built for Max Verstappen's extremely unique driving style. Alex Albon described driving the Red Bull car as a computer mouse with sensitivity at 100%. It's incredibly responsive at the front end but loose at the rear. Most drivers can't handle it, but Max thrives with it. Even Max admits it. When talking about the differences between the Red Bull and Racing Bull's cars, he said, "When I talked to Liam, that Racing Bull's car is definitely easier to drive than our car." So the million-dollar question is, would Tsunoda actually do any better in that Red Bull seat? Or would Red Bull just be setting him up for failure too? If you're finding this analysis helpful, smash that like button, it really helps the channel grow. Now here's where things get really interesting. Spanish media reports are suggesting that Argentine driver Franco Colapinto could be headed to Racing Bulls. That's right, if Red Bull moves Tsunoda up to the main team, they might not even put Lawson back in the Racing Bulls seat. Instead, they could bring in Colapinto, who's currently waiting for an opportunity at Alpine. Helmut Marko was spotted in Alpine's hospitality area in Shanghai on Sunday. Trust me, he wasn't there for the croissants. This creates an absolutely fascinating domino effect. Tsunoda moves up to Red Bull. Lawson potentially becomes reserve driver. Colapinto takes a Racing Bull seat. And this impacts Jack Doohan at Alpine, who's been performing better than expected. It's like a high-stakes game of musical chairs, and it shows just how interconnected the F1 driver market really is. So when will Red Bull make this decision? All signs point to it happening very soon. Max Verstappen is visiting the Red Bull factory this week to discuss improvements to the car. At the same time, management will be poring over the data from Lawson's first 2 races. With the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka coming up, Tsunoda's home race, there's added pressure to make a decision quickly. Imagine the marketing opportunity of having a Japanese driver in a Red Bull at the Japanese Grand Prix. But on the flip side, putting Tsunoda in that difficult car right before his home race could backfire spectacularly. If he struggles like Lawson has, it would be humiliating in front of his home crowd. Don't miss our coverage of whatever Red Bull decides. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. These aren't just decisions about drivers, they're decisions that could determine whether Red Bull can stay in the championship fight. Red Bull's dominance from 2022 and 2023 is gone. Ferrari and McLaren are right there with them now, sometimes even ahead. In a Constructors' Championship this tight, they can't afford to have one car consistently finishing outside the points. Every point matters, and right now, Lawson isn't bringing in any. But with Tsunoda, and is it fair to judge Lawson after just 2 races in an admittedly difficult car? This is what keeps team principals up at night, balancing raw performance data with human factors, short-term gains with long-term driver development. So, remember that question I asked you at the beginning? What would you do if you were Christian Horner? Here's what I think is the right call. Give Tsunoda the Red Bull seat, but not until after Japan. Let Lawson have one more chance at a track he knows well, then make the switch for Miami. This protects Tsunoda from the immense pressure of potentially struggling in his home race while still acknowledging that a change is needed. As for Lawson, put him back in the Racing Bull's seat rather than bringing in Colapinto. The guy deserves a chance to rebuild his confidence in a car that's more forgiving. What do you think Red Bull should do? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, help us out by hitting that like button and subscribing for more F1 content. And check out our video on McLaren's incredible comeback right here. The story behind their rise to the front is just as dramatic as Red Bull's current crisis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.